Hey Optimancers, Tree and Monk here. Just been looking at Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft for analysis and optimization of the character building options within it. I've reviewed both subclasses and the Dhampir lineage, and today we're going to look at the Hexblood lineage. There's not too much to go through, so I don't think this will be a long video. First, what's a Hexblood? Well, essentially it's someone who's been somehow infused with Eldritch or Fey power, primarily through the intervention of hags. The rulebook actually talks about how hags could perform a ritual on a Hexblood character and turn them into a full hag, at which point they would become an NPC. So I would imagine this could be a way to retire a character, or be a threat to create plots for characters, but I would think your DM is not likely to just hand-wave your PC out of existence, or if they do, maybe think about who you play with. Since this is a lineage, you can choose this at character creation, or you could be changed into a Hexblood from one of the D&D races. The lineage really reminds me of a few races we see in the game, such as Genasi, Tieflings, or especially the Aasimar, which, according to the text description, are also changed from another race. This has me thinking that those races could have been presented as lineages if they had come out more recently, and how the game is evolving. So what happens if your elf character is changed into a Hexblood? Well, first of all, we look at the base rules for lineages. They say you replace your existing racial ability score bonuses with a +2 and a +1, which you can place wherever you like. For the most part, I'd expect this to not change your ability scores at all. However, if either your racial ability score bonuses are not where you like them, or you didn't start with the most common +2 +1, this could result in some ability score changes. Secondly, you're going to lose most of your existing racial features. You will keep your skill proficiencies gained through your race, languages and movement modes and speeds of your initial race. Everything else gets replaced by the features of the Hexblood. Again, this isn't something we as players can really optimize, since the decision to make an existing character into a Hexblood isn't going to be the player's choice to make. Now, if we choose to play a Hexblood at character creation, this is what we get. First, we get the aforementioned +2 and +1 to ability scores, which we can place wherever we want. After Tasha's, this is pretty common, provided your DM is using the Customize Your Origin optional rules. Otherwise, this is pretty handy, as it allows lineages to work decently with any class we choose. Secondly, we're going to get 2 languages, one of which will be common, and 2 skill proficiencies of our choice. A couple extra skill proficiencies is always a nice addition, as it never seems like we get enough of those. Our creature type is Fey. Now, for the most part, this doesn't have a big impact on gameplay, though some spell effects specify a humanoid target, so you can't be targeted with a Charm Person spell, a Hold Person spell, a Crown of Madness spell, or the like. Our size is small or medium, and we choose the size when we gain the lineage. A quick note that if we gain this lineage, at least mechanically, this says we can choose whether we're small or medium rather than matching our initial race, which I expect is an oversight. We will have dark vision of 60 feet. Dark vision is always handy to have, though it's pretty common with racial options, as well as with the other lineages. And we'll get Hex Magic. This gives us 2 spells, Disguise Self and Hex. We can cast both of these spells for free, once per long rest, and we can continue to cast them with any spell slots we have, choosing whether to use Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma as our casting ability score. This doesn't really make any difference for the Hex spell, but our Disguise Self spell is harder to discern if our spell difficulty class is higher. So this is pretty good. Hex can be a useful spell on any character that makes attacks, and it's a pretty good addition to almost any character at low levels, and we get this right at level 1. Disguise Self comes up less often, but it is a somewhat useful utility spell that's nice to have prepared for free with a free casting ready to go. So this one, Hex Magic, it's pretty good. Then we get to the more unique feature of the lineage, and that's Eerie Token. This allows us to use a bonus action to remove a lock of hair, a nail, or a tooth, and that becomes a magical token until we complete a long rest. Once you create a token using this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. The magical token can be used in 2 different ways. The first one is we can use an action to send a telepathic message to whoever is holding the token. This has a range of up to 10 miles, and the way it's written suggests the communication is only one way. But something I notice is it says the message is limited to 25 words. But there's no limit to the number of times we can do this, so unless the use of an additional action is coming into play, like maybe we're sending messages in the middle of combat or something, that limit isn't really a factor. So telepathy isn't that rare in the game anymore, but 10 miles is a pretty long range, so I could see this coming in handy for sure. Ideally, it would be two-way communication, but there's nothing we can do about that. Or is there? That brings us to the second use, which is remote viewing. As long as we're within 10 miles of the token, we can use an action to enter a trance. This lasts for 1 minute, and afterwards the token is destroyed, which means no more token until after a long rest. While we're in a trance, we can see and hear from the token as if we were in the token's location using our own senses. Presumably, this would benefit from enhancements to those senses like the See Invisibility spell or True Sight spell or the like. So this is almost like a clairvoyance spell, which is a third level spell, except the range is 10 times longer, and we can see and hear at the same time, and we could move the token around. The only disadvantages are the duration is only a minute instead of 10 minutes, and we need to get that token there in the first place. That's the bigger hurdle. I'll note that if you want to get communication back from the person you used your telepathic message with, you could use this to do so. They could simply speak and you would hear them. This is a one-off, but a way around that restriction in a pinch. Using things like invisible familiars or other forms of sneakiness to get this into position could make for a pretty good method of spying. And, I mean, a single loose hair is not something that is likely to garner a lot of attention. Though I should note that since the token is magical, a detect magic would still presumably notice that this is no normal hair. So the Eerie token is going to be utility only, but it has some interesting utility options. Overall, I would say the Hexblood, it's a decent alternative to existing races. I mean, a race with dark vision, 2 free spells right at first level, and 2 bonus skills would be okay on its own. And getting Eerie token on top of this makes it a pretty decent choice, I think. I'm not sure it's as flashy as Dampier, but it's still a solid choice in place of a race. So that's the Hexblood. Let me know of any cool ideas using the Eerie token in the comments below. Otherwise, until next time, I'm going to sit back, relax, and have some fun. D&D is for everyone. Thanks everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.